2030 and 80% in 2040. Some other institutes researchers got some of the results. For example, is the research groups of the new urbanization applied the quantitative analysis of the transfer of the agriculture, the level, the force, and the climate that the level will be reached 60% in 2020 and 65% in the 2030. Another one is the China's research team of the economics intelligence unit in 2040 proposed that the urbanization level would be 61% in 2020 and 67% in 2030. Last year, the World Bank and the Development Research Center of the State Council made the report about the Chinese urbanization rates would be the 66% in 2020 and 70% in 2030. What is really the result? Is very I think it's a confusion about the really the Chinese urbanization level in the 2030 and 2050s. Last year, the government made the report, National New Urbanization Plans, with the goal of the urbanization level was set to the 60% in 2020. So this the figure just shows that China would have an urbanization level from the different the agencies, such as the International Energy Agency, Berkeley, Lawrence National Level, UN Development Programs, UNDP, and the Tsinghua University and the Energy Research Institution of China. Just show that this in 2020 is different the results. During the 2050, this also is a different thing. So the predictions of the China's urbanization level are different across different research agencies and scholars. This result includes the difficulty in decision making on the China's economic development agenda. These people want to give the more relevant predictions on China's urbanization level by the system, dynamically, the model. The second part, we just briefly introduced our Chinese urbanization SD model. This is the modeling boundary and the structures. We have the built the SD modeling of the Chinese urbanization. We just want to put some of the new elements such as water, land, and energy, and then reduce the multi-factor, multi-scale, multi-scenario the SD the modelings, and then we want to try it to give some value and correct the value, and then give some of the simulations. This is about the closed block diagrams. It's very complicated. I don't want to. And but we just we can divide two the parts. First one is about the economical system, the population system. Secondly, is about the social service in the cities. And this is about the economic system. This is about the population system. And this is the social service system. And this is about the stock and the flow diagrams. This is about the modeling equations. According to this ST, the modeling, we did some of the model validations. You can see this system. I think it's very good. The modeling. This is the real the value. This is about the simulate the value. I think it's good for the structure, the validation, and the sensitive test. This is about the sensitive test. Second part is about the simulation and the result. The data resource is very important. So we just got some of the data from we built the data bank, a lot of the bank. Secondly, it's very important for the simulation is the parametric settling of the modeling. This includes the 6 parts: the first, the second, the third, fourth, and the sixth. I think 2 elements is very important for the simulation. Firstly, is the GDP growth rate. In this case, we just give some giving 3 the situations. Firstly, is 7.5%. The secondly is 7%, and the third is about the 6.5%. And another one. Very important parameter is the population growth rate. China, nowadays the Chinese the population have some problems. Originally, the democracy, the research, the people give the prediction of the force the baby born during that time. But nowadays the Chinese the force baby born didn't come in this year in recent years. So the central government wants to change the family the plan, the policy from the one family, one child to the one family, two children. So according to this situation, we give the 3 situations. At first, we want to find what is the important for the population growth rate. We divide the urban population and the rural population. This is about the urban children bear to the woman from between the 1998 to the 1930s. This is about the rural children bear to the woman. It's about the response of the population growth rules, and so we give some the scenario, the analysis. The one child 1.5 children and 2.5 children. Just we can produce the nice side scenario for the analyst. This is about the scenario 1. The GDP growth rate equal 75%, and the family plan policy is one child. This is about this is the results. This is the second. This is the third. This is the fourth. This is 5. We got the 9 results. So we can give the calculation. Answer the 2 questions. What the China's urbanization goals can be achieved by the government in short time and a long time. The stable urbanization level China can reach, and when China can complete its urbanization. I think the simulations result of all the 9 scenarios showed that the China's urbanization will be higher than 70% in 2035, and reach the 75% or even higher level in 2050. That means that the Chinese urbanization process have to beings in next 20 years. The third one is it also found that compared with the GDP growth rates, the change of the population policy has more evidence impact upon the China's urbanization. In addition, the 1.5 children policy has more significant the contribution to the increase of the Chinese urbanization routes following by the current implement one-child policy. This impact results from the 2-child policy compared with the other 2 policies is much weak. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Gu. And maybe just stay there for a minute. How about some questions or comments from this very large audience? Surely there's something. While you're thinking, I have one quick one that I'm going to insert. It's a technical question.
Yeah.
How do these projections account for urban hukou, or do they? I mean, does it include the migrant population or not in the census figures?
The dates, just I just following the Chinese static the date. So I don't want to make another definition of about what this means the urban population, not the rural population. It's very complicated.
Right.
Yeah.
Current census.
Yes.
So just the numbers.
Yes.
Yeah, if Professor Gu used the data of state yearbook, it means that the migrants who lived in urban area more than half the years are included in the urban population.
Right.
Yeah, I wanted to thank the Professor Gu. For me, it was just a question related to the statistic that they have been using has been the one generated by China statistic, or are you been using the world urban population prospect of the UN, or are you been comparing those sorts of data?
Yes. I remember that this morning you talk about I think it's 68.
Yes.
Yeah, 2035.
Yes.
Yeah, and 60 or 78 in 2050.
Yes.
I just similar.
Okay.
That's
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? We have a couple minutes.
I have another one. Yes, actually, I'm on my way to Shanghai for the World Cities Day, and then we have been very happy that China between 1996 and then, of course, 2010 has completely changed the philosophy of urbanization and even being now a leader in terms of advanced thinking on urbanization. I'm just curious to this policy that you are announcing from one child to child per family. If you take the number of households that is to come, not now, but that are coming from 2016 to 2020 or 2030, what will be, according to your model, the simulation that will be taken, what will be the optimum population of China, for instance, in 2030 or 2050? Because that is the change of mentality. But do you think the Chinese household of today, with the wealth accumulated, are they going to have two child? Is it a reflex that they're going to change in an immediate way because they want two child?
Yeah, this is very important the question. It's no in urban area, most of the family don't want two children.
Yes.
But in the rural area, it's want to more than two the children. This is important. So the China have to push the urbanization policy. Because move a lot of the rural population into the urban areas, maybe have some problem.
Yes.
I don't know.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Professor Wu. I think we move to the next presentation. I'm not sure whether it is yes, okay. Thank you. It's diarrhea. And so, we'll hear the title of the talk, but I will announce it right now since it's in your schedule. Determinants of urban households housing condition in China, a study based on NBS panel data.
Just a moment, sorry.
No problem.
Thanks, Chairman. Good afternoon, everybody. Say again. Thanks, Chairman. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dai Biao from Asian Growth Research Institute, AGI. The topic of my presentation is determinants of urban households housing condition in China, a study based on NBS panel data. This is a joint paper coordinated with Professor Li of APU. Here is the outline of my presentation. First, I want to briefly introduce the background and purpose of this paper. As we know, in the past 3 decades, China has achieved a very significant improvement in urban house condition, with the average per capita house floor space rising from below 7 meters square to about 30 meters square in recent years. This is a very big improvement. However, at the same time, the housing inequality among households in urban China has been increasing, has become very serious or highly concerned social problems in recent China. Regarding the causes or reason of housing inequality, there are some debates. some research consider that this is just a consequence of China's transition to market-oriented economic system. But meanwhile, other research pay more attention to the institutional facts. They argue that the legal institutional reform may be important factors of the rising housing inequality. However, there are still very few empirical studies based on current data, particularly based on quantified multi-year data. So more empirical study, more evidence are necessary. So in this paper, using household level panel data from NBS survey, we try to answer the following three questions. The first question is, how high is housing inequality in recent urban China? Second one is, which factors affect a household's probability of having a my home or so-called resident-owned house and renting a public house? The third one, we want to answer the question, which factors affect a household's house size? Because of time limitation, I want to skip the section 2 on review of the previous study to section 3 to introduce the data and methodology used in this paper. In this paper, our data are from household level panel data from China's National Bureau of Statistics yearly household survey from 2004 to 2007. Actually, these data are not publicly published. However, we are lucky to get them under a joint research program. This data set include 5,000 household samples from more than 160 cities, including Shanghai and Peking, the two largest cities in China. Based on this panel data, we first measure the Gini coefficient of housing inequality in urban China. Then, based on this panel data and the fixed logistic model, we examine the effects of household characters on the probability of having my house. This is all kinds of my house, including low price my house, market price my house. Low price my house means the resident-owned house purchased in the process of privatization of a house in China's housing system reform at a very low price. Market price my house in China is called a Shangpingfang. It's called this kind of house are purchased at a very high price. Then, based on the panel data and panel data revision model, we examine the effects of household characters on housing size. We use the house floor space to represent the housing size. This is just a summary of variables. This is a description of variables. Now, let me show you our analysis result. First, the Gini coefficient of housing inequality for the period from 2004 to 2007. This figure shows the Gini coefficient of housing inequality in recent urban China. The blue ones are based on per capita house floor space. This is the original survey data without any adjustment. The red ones are based on adjusted per capita house floor space, which take the market value of house into account. I think it can reflect a more real situation in current urban China. So if we look the red ones, we can find that the Gini coefficient of housing inequality in China has reached a considerable high level, near 0.5, and it also has continued the rising trend. So we can say China now is facing quite serious housing inequality problems. This table shows the effects of household characteristics on the probability of having various types of my house in Peking and Shanghai. Here, LP my house means low price my house. NP my house means market price my house, high price my house. This is all type my house. So from this table, we can find that in Peking and Shanghai, the household headers in employment in government organization and household headers education years have significantly positive effects on the probability of having my house, or having LP my house, low price my house. In case of market price my house, we can find that this variable, total household income, has significant positive effects on the probability of having market price my house. So in case of all my house, we can find that the total income, household income, continue to have positive effects on having my house, on owning my house. But the effect of employment in government organization tends to be negative, partly because in Shanghai and Peking, the household with the header employing in government organization have high probability to have the public rental house. I will explain in that time. This table shows the effects of household characteristics on the probability of having various types of my house in other cities. In case of low price my house, we can find that both this is household headers employment in government organization and household headers education years and household headers age. These low income variable have positive effects on the probability of having low price my house. Simply speaking, government officials have high probability to have this kind of my house. In the case of market price my house, similarly to the situation in Shanghai and Peking, we can find that the total household income has significant positive effects on the probability of having this type my house, market price my house. On the other hand, the household had employment in government organization has negative effect on having this kind of my house. In case of the all my house, we can find that in other cities, both non-income factors and the income factors, say total household income, both these factors have positive effects on the probability of having my house. This table shows the effects of household characters on the probability of renting a public house. It's very cheap rental house. This is a comparison of situation of Peking and Shanghai and other cities. From this table, we can find that in case of Peking and Shanghai, household headers employment in government organization and the population of household have the positive effects on the probability of renting a public house. This is maybe the picture of low-income government official, particularly young official can have more chance, can have high probability of renting a public house. In case of other cities, we can find that some related factors, for example, resident of local urban, it means the household with the local urban hukou, the household with the local rural hukou, and the household with the other place urban hukou have significant positive effects on the probability of renting a public house. It means that those households without local hukou or other places urban hukou, it means that rural migrant household. For this group, rural migrant household has the smallest chance of having the probability of renting public house. Table 7 shows the effects of income and other household characteristics on household floor space. Here, the dependent variable is the house floor space. In case of Peking and Shanghai, we can find that both non-income variable, including household headers employment in government organization, household headers education years, household's age, and the total income, the income factors, particularly the total income, household income, have positive effects on the house floor space. This is the result for the case of other cities. In other cities, we can find that similarly, both some non-income variables and the total income, yes, this one, and the income factors have significantly positive effects on the household's house floor space. Meanwhile, the types of house also have some effects on the house floor space. For example, public rent house, very cheap house, public rent house, and low price my house has negative effects on the house floor space. In contrast, the market price my house and older my house. These two types house had positive effects on the house floor space. In addition, the location of a household in coastal area, coastal province or coastal cities has negative effects on the house floor space, reflecting the high house price in coastal cities. Okay, now let me summary our main finding in this paper. The main findings in this paper can be summarized as follows. First one, housing inequality in urban China has risen to a considerable high level in recent years. If inequality is measured using adjusted per capita house floor space, which takes the house market value into account, the Gini coefficient of housing inequality in urban China has reached nearly 0.5 in 2007, rising from 0.47 in 2004. It means it has a rising trend. Second, although China has abolished the old housing allocation system, which was controlled by government and working unit company or institute, and made the housing market become the almost only supply of urban house after the late 1990s. The effects of non-income factors on urban households' housing condition still remains strong. The results of our panel analysis show that these variables have significant positive effects on householders' probability of owning a low-price resident-owned house or renting a cheap public rent house, as well as on the house size. The third one, with the dramatic transition of China's urban housing system from planned system to a market-oriented one, household income has become an important determinant of housing condition in urban China. This is similar to advanced country, to those countries with a market-oriented economic system. Like in other market economics, household income rate effects, including total household income and household head education years, have significantly positive effects on the probability of having a market price resident-owned house and all resident-owned house, as well as on the house size. The first one, compared to the situation in Peking and Shanghai, in other cities, non-income factors have stronger effects on households' probability of having a resident-owned house, or my house, and renting a public house as well as on the house size. This is the difference between situation of Peking and Shanghai and other cities. So by comparing the effects of various factors, we can conclude that the rising housing inequality in urban China is the result of combined effects of ongoing market-oriented reform and the persistence of traditional institutions. So in order to elevate the rising housing inequality, the Chinese government should pay attention to not only the improvement of market environment, but also the promotion of legal institution reform. This is my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dai. Questions, comments? While you're thinking about that, I do have something. So in your suggestions, you have specifically not said, following what we heard about Singapore, public housing as a way to handle inequality. You didn't mention that. So is it excluded in your mind as a solution or an approach to housing inequality?
Yeah, actually, my idea that because as I mentioned in the very beginning, some researchers stated that the recent rising housing inequality is a result or consequence of economic reform towards a market-oriented system. But according to our analysis, we found that it's not only the result of economic reform towards a market-oriented reform. It's also the result of a traditional institution. So I suggest that China government should promote the reform of legal institution, for example, hukou system. In my analysis, I found that those rural migrants have very, very little chance to have public house. You say in Singapore and in Hong Kong, everybody can have chance to access to the public house. But in China, migrant house, particularly those rural migrant house, has zero chance to access this public, those very cheap house. In fact, they are the group who need this cheap house. So this is my suggestion. We should pay more attention to the Chinese government should pay more attention to the promotion of legal institution reform. This is what I wanted to say.
Thank you for that. So, anyone else? Yes.
Thank you. I'm Li Qingzhang. I'm from the Department of Geography, University of Ottawa. And from the conclusion of your presentation, you mentioned that there are very close relationship between housing market and income level. What I'm concerned is there a relationship or is there a relationship between inequity and the market of housing, especially in China, because the urban development is relying on the marketable housing or the housing market. But there are large rural immigration or other types of migration, and they have very rigid demand from the house market. So the marketization of the house may cause inequity, may increase the gap between richer and poor. So what do you think?
Thank you for your question. Yeah, of course, I also say that one reason for the rise of housing inequality in Eastern China is the reform towards the market system. But I think market system is more transparent. Yeah. Although the rich can have a bigger house, the poor can only can have a small house, but it's easier to measure. You can find the process is very transparent, and the chance is equal to everybody. But the housing inequality caused by institution is intransparent. So in my opinion, if I also I think both housing inequality is not a good thing. But if compare these two kinds of housing inequality, the housing inequality caused by market reform is more easy to measurement, is more transparent. Of course, market maximum is not perfect. We can see a lot of transparency in USA several years ago. So, in my suggestion, I say the Chinese government should pay attention to not only the improvement of market environment, but also the promotion of legal institution reform. We should pay attention to both sides. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Okay, we have time for one more. Okay, here it is.
My question is about the inequality of housing, because inequality is not only about income, but also about spatial. Geospatial inequality should also be paid attention to, because when it's more market-driven, quite often you find public housing only be able to build on land that is cheap, quite often not really well connected by public transportation or other ways of accessibility is pretty low. So when the poorer or lower income people get these public housing, which is spatially disadvantaged, they actually increase the gap. So when we are promoting market mechanism, which is really, of course, a good thing, but at the same time, we should pay attention to this geospatial inequality. What do you think this kind of issue could potentially be addressed when we are promoting the market mechanism?
Yeah, we should insist on promoting the market, the reform toward the market system. But however, on the same time, as you said, with the huge inflow of migration into the city, these people are very difficult to access public house. So in another study, we suggest that Chinese government or local government should set up or add property tax. In China, there are no any tax like property tax in Japan, in other advanced countries. So if the government can set up such a kind of property tax, they can use this money to help the poor class to build some public house to serve the programs for the low income class. But in China, there's still no such kind of property tax. Maybe from next year, Chinese government will set up this tax.
Thank you, Professor Dan. Thank you. So, without further ado, let's have Professor Guo in, and he will probably announce his own, but I will read his topic at any rate: social capital and urban governance in Shanghai.
Okay, dear Chairman, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Jinping Guo from Fudan University in Shanghai. My topic is social capital and urban governance in Shanghai. Just now, our colleagues talk about the urban economics, the urban sociology. Now I'm talking about the urban politics. I hope all of you enjoy it. In today's conference, I noticed basically the politics is very, very real topic. So I said I want to introduce some new topic, some new perspective in our discussions. Okay. So first, I want to introduce a new approach to urban governance, and then discuss the growth of the social capital and the urban governance for migration programs. And finally, I will discuss a special case. So basically, in my presentation, I want to give you some big ideas and small cases. Unfortunately, no technical details. So in a study of the Chinese politics in general and the urban governance in particular, we use a lot of theoretical models, among which one model is dominating, dominating the Chinese political studies. This is the theory of the state's civil society relations. So while some scholars argue that the state power has retreated from social life and the economic field due to decentralization and market transition, others insist that the state has been tightening its control by strengthening the Communist Party leadership and expanding public security forces. So we may find the contradictory to interpretations of the Chinese development. So, for example, in the study of the urban governance, from the late 1990s, we tried to build the community in urban and rural areas. So, in the studies of the community building in China, the promotion of the community building is explained with contradictory perspective. Some people believe that this is in order to tighten the state control on the grassroots society. And on the other side, many people believe we want to generate autonomy of the urban residents. So you may find the totally different directions in the study, totally different perspectives. So I think this is because we applied very strict the series. This is the so-called conflicting theory of the state civil society relations. But based on my research, and I guess many of you know, there are two different theories of the state civil society relations. Especially in the political philosophy and comparative political studies. Most of the scholars place special emphasis on the role of civil society against the authoritarian regime and insist that the inherent conflict exists between the civil society and the state. And another theory attaches great importance to the contribution of civil associations to the government in democratic polity and believes that there are cooperative relations between the civil society and the state. But the discussions on civil society in China basically emerged from middle 1990s, after the collapse of the Soviet Union and the European socialist states. So we introduced this theory and has a very special background. So in China, many scholars tend to use the conflict theories of the state civil society relations to analyze the Chinese social and urban development. But in my studies, I try to use another series. This means use the cooperative and the collaborative theory of the state civil society relations. And I find some new paradigms, for example, the governance, for example, the theory of the social capitals. So we may use many different concepts and theories to reconstruct a framework for our analysis. So the paradigm of the governance reveals a totally different picture of state-society relations. So in contrast with the argument about the conflict and the confrontation between state and society, a great emphasis is placed upon the coordination, the cooperation, and the collaboration between state and society. So cooperation is possible because there are social capital in some societies. So this is very famous research about the evolution of the social capital. So, social capital refers to features of a social organization, such as trust, norms, and networks that can improve the efficiency of society by facilitating coordinating actions. Volunteer cooperation is easier in a community that has inherited a substantial stock of social capital in the forms of norms of reciprocity and civic engagement. Okay. So now I move to the Shanghai, discuss the growth of the social capital in Shanghai. Shanghai is a very special area in China. I studied Shanghai for many years, and several years ago I published a book on Shanghai, on the political development in Shanghai. When we discuss the Shanghai, some scholars treated Shanghai as other China many years ago. But I believe from the early 1950s, I think we tried to integrate Shanghai into the whole development of China. That means from early 1950s, Shanghai share more and more basic fundamental characteristics with other areas in China. But even today, we may find some special points, special characteristics in Shanghai. But during the early 20th century, the various civic associations have been formed and contributed very much to the local development, such as welfare provision and the public service. So according to the statistics, there are more than 190 registered associations with total more than 80,000 members, and 9 other professional associations with nearly 4,000 members in 1946. So all these civic associations provide very, very basic services to the local residents in Shanghai. So, before 1949, the government in Shanghai was divided. So it's very difficult for one government to provide the general public service to the residents. So in this sense, the local civic associations contribute very much to the local development. So along with the development of the socialist market economy and the transformation of government functions, a huge number of the social organizations, the civic associations, have been established as the results of interactions between the local state and society. So here I display the development of the civic associations in Shanghai. So the number of the civic organizations in Shanghai increased very, very quickly. In fact, many other civic groups and organizations are not registered with Civil Affairs Authority. So according to some estimation, there are more than 20,000 unregistered organizations. For example, the foreign organizations in Shanghai, some mass activity groups in neighborhoods, the cultural and sports association in university colleges, and the interest groups within enterprises and small youth groups, and so on and so forth. So all these civic associations played very important role in the urban governance. So here I try to use a very special case. So the urban governance for migration problems. The Shanghai is a big city. During the past decade, so many people move to Shanghai from the countryside, from rural areas. So this is a very serious problem for Shanghai government and also for the Shanghai civic organizations. So this, now the total population in 1990s was 13 million, but it increased 24.15 million in 2030, among which the floating population was nearly 10 million. That means without the household registration, without the hukou system. Okay. So here I display this development. So although the migrant workers make great contribution to economic and social development in Shanghai, they could not share the results of the modernization with just residents and enjoying the basic welfare and fundamental rights as same as the just residents. So in this process, the Shanghai government worked together with so many different social organizations and civic associations to provide the public services to the local residents, including the migrant workers. Now, Shanghai government introduced a lot of reform. For example, reform the hukou system and try to increase the possibilities for more migrant workers to enjoy the basic rights in Shanghai. Most of the migrant workers are young people. So the Usenet, the Usenet is a very important organization in China. So the Usenet in Shanghai played a very important role, but in this respect. So I did some field research with the Usenet, not only in at the Shanghai level, but also in the district level, in Pudong areas. So according to my field studies, the Pudong committee of the Communist Youth League made remarkable achievements in promoting the integration of the young migrant workers in local communities. The Pudong Youth League chose 2 places to do the pilot experiment, which are Shenzhuang village in Hangzhou Township and Xinhuo village in Caoliu Township. I went there and did some the field studies. Well, the CCP, the Communist Party, and the governments have attached great importance to and invest more resources in urban governance for migrant workers. The growing civil organizations have taken initiative to provide services and assistance to them, leading to the emergence of a new pattern of urban governance, characterized the cooperation and the collaboration between the party states and the civil society in China. So here I would like to introduce a very small case. This is the non-stream service society for young migrant workers. This is a newborn civil non-enterprise organization aiming at making friends with the young migrant workers and providing services and assistance for them, try to reduce the inequalities and the disparities between migrant workers and local residents, promoting integration of migrant workers with local community in Shanghai. Well, if you have interest, you may visit this website. You may find some more information about this very, very small case. Did you find me? I'm sitting in the middle. So I do some field research. I investigate the operation and their services, their contributions. I check the relations with so many different government agencies, the other enterprises, other social organizations. So it's a very complicated network. So this means this small non-stream society built a huge network with many different organizations, government agencies, and a different net to try to provide services to the young migrant workers in Shanghai. So I checked their network, all of them based on the Chinese word 关系. But they use this 关系 to do a very important, very meaningful thing for the migrant workers. Okay. So this is the leader of this society. And during the past 7 years, they organized a large-scale survey on the living and work conditions for migrant workers in cooperation with, for example, the Youth League of the Fudan University, the Shanghai Pacific Life Insurance Company. And they organized the training courses on local cultures, working skills for more than 50,000 migrant workers with the Open University, the organization of Personal Weekly of the Shanghai Personnel Bureau, and also they organized exchange activities with local residents for migrant workers with local governments at townships, so on and so forth. So in this process, so I try to draw a conclusion about the new pattern of the urban governance that's based on the cooperation between the party states and the civil society. So this, my paper analyzed this emerging pattern of the urban governance based on cooperation and collaboration between party states and civil society from the perspective of the social capital. And finally, I try to explain my exploration. The reciprocity and trust have been always emphasized as cardinal virtues in China from the very beginning in ancient societies. So, as Theodore Barry said in reading the Almanac of Confucius, the nature of feeling reciprocity engendered in a normal process of life and the root of humanity. The state cannot state if trust without family, the root of the public trust is undermined. Mutual trust among the people and their leader is the most essential ingredient for any human society. So I want to give you a very, very important message that revisiting the classics may give some new insights in Chinese political studies, including the urban governance in China. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Gould. Questions, comments, as always? Maybe already.
I just have very small questions. I think I like the way you interpret science and something like that. But the only thing I care about is where is the funding come from for like this non-stream? Yeah, that's what I'm worried about for the non-profit organization. So where do you get the money?
Very good questions. Key points. The non-stream society was established by Mr. Li Jinzhong. Mr. Li is a former government official in Shanghai. I quite high-level government officials. In Chinese, we say 处级干部, right? So he resigned from the government and used his own money, 100,000, his own money from his family to set up this society, and then attract some funding from governments, from the big company, from his friends, so on and so forth. Collect a lot of money. Okay.
Thank you, Professor. I think it is quite interesting to bring to us this Confucius way of trust. And of course, between leaders and then the people. But in today's China, what we are reading from the internet and everything is that there is a high dynamics of change. You have explained the migrant workers in Shanghai and then how they are being assisted. But I want to ask you another question, not on the migrant worker, but today, Chinese youth in relation to internet, in relation to the global social media, how they are keeping social capital. Because today, in the global world, even in Africa, in America, in Europe, there is a huge problem because of social media and developing any social capital relational that make use. They sit together, they don't talk together. They are talking to the machine. This is something I don't know how it has been expressed in developing social capital in a transformational society like China.
I think any society is a mixture of the tradition and the modernity. So even in China, we may find so many the traditional styles, living styles, and at the same time, the new technology spread so very fast. So in this case of the non-stream society, they also use the modern IT technology to connect so many migrant young workers. So I think they use this new IT technology to build the new type of social capital.
I think it's a very useful for the China's urbanization. My question is, decentration is very important for the urban governance. Premier Li Keqiang is the promotion of the governance, but in recent years they have some problem. It's only a field the promotion for this field. My question is, you want to build the how to the evaluate the social capitals. What is the really the decentration from the government, or just use the free the society? Yeah. Two questions.
Even today, I noticed the Chinese government and the Communist Party has a very contradictory attitude towards the social organization. Because just now I emphasize, because during the past 2 decades, we introduced only one theory of the state-society relations. This is the conflict theory. So the Chinese Communist Party and the government, of course, very against this theory. But as I emphasize here, we may find the totally different theory. So if we emphasize and spread this new theories, I think Chinese Communist Party and the government will accept this new version, this new theory, very readily. So in this sense, we may need to a new type of urban governance.
Thank you. Final words. Also, for challenging maybe some of our conventional ideas that we have. Certainly, you challenged some of my ideas right there. So, last speaker, and certainly, only last by numerical terms, Professor Li, a young fan, multi-mind. So, I'm interested to hear
what Professor Lee will tell us today.
Okay, thank you, John, and hello, everybody. My topic is urban environment, urban ecology. I don't think it's a mainstream of urbanization study. Anyone involved in this topic of urban environment and urban ecology? Oh, good. Thanks. Okay, very hot. Okay, thank you.
Remember, we are going to Paris, sir.
Okay. Good news. I'm from Xiamen University. It's a very beautiful coast city of China, and my topic is on coastal rapid urbanization and landscape ecology change in coast China. Firstly, introduction. China is dreaming. The whole country is dreaming now, including urban. The central government released the natural new type urbanization plan last year. And the China's urban population fractions will rise by 1% a year to reach 60% by 2020. That means each year they'll have 13 million people will be new urban people from rural area. So that's a big challenge, right? The challenges including land, people, and environment. Futures. Do you know futures? No?
No.
Futures is very important and is a flagship, ongoing flagship of international scientific program. It's a big platform. It is integrating almost every scientific program in the world, including IGBP, including IHDB, including natural science, and including social science. This program had international symposium on co-design the urbanization of China and Asian and the Pacific region. Just the day before yesterday, when I was in Xiamen. Okay, how about Coast China? Coast China are only 30% of the country's land area, but contribute 60% of GDP. During the process, adverse socio-economic and ecological consequences of over-reclamation of coast wetlands have already emerged. So the coastal areas in China are a perfect example of coupled human and natural system. So what about my research in China? I have a little group about urbanization and regional environment change at Xiamen University. Our group's research focus on the coupled system, urbanization and environment of coast zone. We are doing some work on coast-urban lack, land use and land cover change, and the environment effects and early warning. That's the topic of today. Another is a coastal spatial vulnerability resilience and ecological governance, just as Professor Guo said. However, I think it's not the same thing in the political science and in my understanding. Coast luck, we doing some research about coast land use and land cover change in the urban and wetlands interface. And we also do some research to quantify the complexity in urban landscape at fine scale, including the urban growth steps of infilling, edge expansion, etc. The other thing is environment effects during the rapid urbanization, including UHI, urban heat island effects, water quality degradation, and what's the relationship between the water quality and the rapid urbanization. Early warning. This is my first research about early warning. In Xiamen coast zone, we built up an indicator based on landscape ecological security of the coast urbanization. And we found that there is notable signs of insecurity and rapid landscape can already be identified as early warning area. This is the map of the landscape ecological security assessment. And we found that compare this result to the urban planning of the local planning, Xiamen, and we found that the high risk areas have a good relationship with the new land and the new industry parks of the future land use and land cover change. Another thing is a special vulnerability assessment. This is the topic of today. I will give the detailed information later. Resilience. We also build up an indicator, resilience, ecological sensitivity, water quality with table cover, and map and assess the special resilience of the tidal lake, urban and wetlands. Resilience assessment, including water quality and the threshold model and resilience management of the rapid coast area. Another thing is ecological governance. We build up a coupling correlation degree model, focusing on the degree of correlation between urbanization and the environment. We also do some climate change related work on the coast zone, and we provide 5 core areas for implication of climate change policy. We want to integrate climate change factors into the coast development policy and planning. Okay, case study. Just as I mentioned, today's topic is early warning for rapid coast urbanization and landscape ecological change. So we built up a vulnerability early warning system in Iccasu coast zone of Hainan province, Iccasu. Do you know Iccasu? It's the capital of Hainan province. It's a very important tourism city and the coast city of China. The city area is 2,280 kilometers square. Population is 2 million at 2010. This is a Iccasu area. Oh, it's a coast beach and tourist. Oh, it's a hotel. Many hotels located in Iccasu city served as tourists. It's a coast landform, and the natural environment is a mangrove wetland. Natural reserve is a mangrove natural reserve of Haikou Dongzhaigang, a mangrove natural reserves. This is the office of this natural reserve, and we investigate some data and discuss with the official of this. So what do we do? We did some vulnerability assessment according to a framework of B-internals. We use the exposure, sensitivity, and resilience to identify the vulnerability. Use the GIS-based spatial model, including data reduction, multi-criteria evaluation, and modeling building. This is the data. Just like I mentioned, exposure indicator, we use a spatial indicator to identify exposure, including land urbanization, population, tourism, and the sensitivity indicator including DEM, geological disaster and traffic, resilience indicator including natural habitat, coast tab, and ecosystem service. And we mapped the different indicators and different types of these 9 indicators. And we use the spatial model, just like I mentioned, to calculate the vulnerability of the coast zone of the Haikou city. And we found that the city center and the developing new urbanizing areas are high vulnerability. This is a Dongzhaigang, a natural reserve. Is a low vulnerability, is a good standards. We compared with our result to the urban master plan of Haikou, and we can find that the urban centers and the new developing areas are in high vulnerability. We also did the early warning system, use the light indicators adjustment. We could use our system to adjust the different indicators, just like landscape, urbanization, population. We can change the indicator and the weight, and we found we can get the different scenarios, just as Professor Gu said, different scenarios and the different result to provide decision maker. Where is the high vulnerability? Where is the no vulnerability during different indicator and during different factors to control the region's vulnerability. Okay, this work also gets the software copyright of China. So, summary. Our study improves the framework of ESR for vulnerability assessment and introduce indicator-based model for assessing and early warning of the covered vulnerability to coast areas. Secondly, we developed an evaluation framework for regional environment vulnerability, resilience, and early warning system of coast urbanizing area using spatial analysis and inform the design and the local urban planning and development policy. So I want to say science and policy. We did some research in the interface of science policy. We should translate. We are translator. We should translate the language of scientists to inform decision maker, to translate the scientific language to the policy language. The decision maker can understand what we do. It's our main work. And assessment is a good tool. Is a good translator. It's a good tool, useful tools to translate our scientific assessment results into the policy decision maker. And we want to inform, maybe in the future, we can lead, I'm not sure, the urban planning. Because urban planning is a core mechanism in China, because planning involved almost every aspect, including economy, social, environment, everything. So, future work. We also want to sorry. Okay, good. We want to in the future early warning modeling, because now early warning in our previous work is indicator based. It's just a historic data and the current assessment, not involve the future scenario or the future forecasting. So next step, we want to do this and use the natural ecosystem early warning system into rapid urbanized and urbanizing area to build concept model of early warning for rapid urbanization in the future. And by UN projection, in 2025, this is an urban agglomeration, inland and location, and coastal location. You can see the red color, and there's a lot located in coast zone, especially in China coast, almost in Africa. So we could do more collaborative research between China and Africa. We can use our vulnerability assessment and early warning model into use in Africa coast zone. I think there's a lot of space to collaborate in the future. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Lee. Now, there were some researchers on the same topic, and maybe other questions and comments as well. How about that? Yes.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm from building engineering field, so some similar problem that we're facing is that the decision maker, they don't trust your model, so they want your model to perform the way they want, but not the science. So how could you address this issue?
Okay, it's a good question. It's also a big problem for us to do some research, because just to as you said, the government officials do not trust the model. Maybe they want to control the model. To do some results to support their policy decision making. So, however, our research, I said, science policy interface is very important. We want to translate. It's very important. We should ask a translator. It's a good translator to translate our scientific results to the government official. There are some good news that some local Chinese government and central government have some project to deliver to us, to want us to do some basic and real research to support their decision maker. I think it's good news. We have some projects funded by the government. They also want to the real information and the real result. I think this is good news. So thank you.
I have a comment, a reflection on comments and a question. The question is simple. Has the model been used in China? Simple one. The comment is just a follow-up on the manipulation of any particular potential scientific model. In my own experience in Canada, for example, even if there's no manipulation of any model, the question is always there are competing models. So you have a model and I have a model, and so this different competing models represents different interests and different perspectives and different values and different aspects of the very complex situation of designing cities and the city regions. So my own experience, that reflect back my own experience in China over time, is more relatively sort of narrowly scoped sort of thing, and so at one period of time it's driven by a particular form of science, and 5 years later, and there is a discovery of new model, and then suddenly the new model becomes the norm, and then it becomes another driving force of things. I think for China, it is important to recognize there is actually limitations to any form of science, no matter what you do with science. So it is a recognition about the complexity of the human society and the interface between human and the nature and then the politics as well. So how could the society develop in a much more sophisticated way in addition to recognize the increased and the continuous need for advancement of science, but there is also a need for a more recognition about the complexity of the society itself in terms of how decisions are supposed to be made, taking into consideration various aspects of different models and different science. Anyways, that's just comments, but the quick question was, has the model been used in China?
It's a very difficult question for me. How to use the model into the policy maker. Just I say some good news is some project from government funded by them, and they want to do some modeling and results for to serve or inform their decision maker. Power is very important, and in this current stage for me, as a university professor, my main task is publish paper. This is a main task for me in this stage. So maybe next steps I can do more tasks to translate my papers into the officials to let them know what our scientific results can serve or lead the policy decision making. Maybe it's the last step. Sorry.
Yes, based on what you have said, I have a concern. Because if at the university professor you said my job is to publish paper, then you should be sacked from your university. After all, you have two functions. One function is indeed to prepare students and then generation to become good scientists. But yourself, beyond that responsibility as a university professor, as I was saying this morning, is where you are in Fudan. Sorry?
Xiamen University.
Yes, yeah. So it's to engage your local authorities. Is to get them acquainted with what you are doing so that they can use actually your model, even though it is for research, in order to advance decision making and use technology to prepare for all these disasters that we are seeing. I give you an example. Some years ago, in Fukushima, you know what happened. The nuclear plant was affected by tsunami. Now, of course, they have put a wall of almost 12 meters at that time to think it will protect the plant, but it did not. Because certainly what is happening more and more is because of the sea level rising, because of the all this theory with regard to the 2 degrees of increase into the global warming, we're going to face more and more so many disasters. Now, is it an entropy issue, meaning that it is the human factors with regard to cars, with regard to pollution of the environment, the behavior of human beings? As I said this morning, there is no causes without, no effect without causes. There are certainly problems that human beings are actually engaged by way of production, by way of economy, by way of greed, by way of so many actions that we are putting on without measuring the consequence. And these issues of your modeling with regard to environmental transformation and then the risk that the human settlement are facing, we can only count on scientists to help us. I know there are leaders like the one in New York now, I don't want to name it, he doesn't believe in scientists. There are many politicians that do not believe in scientists, maybe because they want to pursue their own interest. But I think it is the community of scientists, exactly as this association, that network that you have, how do you call it? Earth what? The network that you showed earlier on and asking that you need the Earth, future us. You should get together, put your brain together, co-design and help local authorities. But I think definitely there is more and more at this age, the need for universities and scientists to get together and have more influential pattern in terms of policy and program, and not just confine themselves into producing papers. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. I think the main task for me, I think for most university professors is publish papers, and we also did some consult projects for government. This depends on the funding. If they can fund us more money, we can do more work for government. Thank you.
It's more like I have a comment on that based on my personal experience in terms of the relationship between researchers and the government. First of all, I want to apologize, I forgot to introduce myself just now. My name is Liu Xie, and I work for the State University of New York at Plattsburgh. So I had the luxury of working for some consultant project for a leading real estate developer in Shanghai. So we actually talked with the developers what they want, and we went to talk to the government officials, the planning bureaus, the transportation authorities, the government, all kinds of departments. We actually had the luxury of sitting in the same room with them and to talk about the ideas, the researchers, what we found that's good or that could improve land use efficiency, improve the city building. The fact is that they all know all what we're trying to say. They know all the concepts, the government officials, the planners, they're well trained, they know all of them. But their hands are really tight because of the system they are embedded in. So I would say that one of the ways that the researchers, as we could do is that we could potentially partner up with the developers that we have been, my research team have been doing, who we would know what the private sector would want, they are the closest to the market. At the same time, we got opportunity to talk to the officials in the government because we're backed by the investors who got money in their pocket. And when we have this both ends of conversation going on, that the government usually would be willing to twist the plan a little bit for the developers with really good understanding of what they're trying to do. Not only the developers trying to make profit, but also from scholars, researchers who can convince them with scientific findings that it's really good conversation. Of course, the downside of this kind of work, which is really interesting, I'm really interested in have been doing that for 10 years. The downside is that the developers own the property right, and we don't get to produce papers, which is the main task for university professors. So that's the downside of it. So sometimes it's really hard to find a balance between practical work and also research that's about publishing papers. So this is my comment based on my personal experience. I think that's really interesting conversation.
Thank you.
Don't forget planners, because planners are classified as paper pushers. So we push paper around. So you produce papers, we push paper around, and hopefully we can all together. Paper pushers is different, maybe, but just anyways.
Do we have a last intervention or question or comment? Yes, it's for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I would like to, return to your paper, not on the rules of the paper, and because we have ever, worked with professors, and I know Hainan is a tourism island, and based on your research, how do you think, have you found any conclusion between the coastal urbanization and environment? And is it positive or negative or both? Or positive rather than negative or vice versa? And also, do you think this kind of influence has been considered by the urban planner or urban manager?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for your question. We found some interesting results for the planner and for the assessment about vulnerability. And we did some research on the coast road and the city center, and found the whole vulnerability status is, I think, it's good in high-cost city. You look, the red color is not so good. The green color is good. The yellow color is better. However, you can compare with another research in Xiamen and Liaoyuan. You can find that is also not so good in the coast zone of Xiamen coastal zone. And the red color of the high-risk area is much larger than high-cost, because it's a different economic stage, urbanizing stage, because Xiamen is a higher urbanized area, and Haikou is urbanizing area, so it's a different. I think my modeling and my scientific result can inform the local government if they can find maybe more money. That's a joke. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Li. Maybe it's a pity that you haven't done your work on Tianjin before the disaster, which we all know about. So I think this brings to an end this very interesting session with 4 very different papers. Certainly it gave me lots to think about over the evening and tomorrow. So how about we all thank our 4 speakers now? Thank you. And you're free, and then in another half hour we have China. Look forward to it.
Thank you. Great talk, very strong.